begin with an opening statement. Then John will give some thoughts. Then we will open up to questions. So, David, whenever you're ready, we will begin with you.
Yeah, there you go. I had to unmute there. Good morning, everybody. Sorry that once again we're not all together, that we can't see each other. Hopefully that day is coming real soon. Before we analyze and dissect this season, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge some people and some groups. This return to play was just a massive undertaking. My first thanks would go to our local team here in Nashville, our Predator staff, our Bridgestone staff, specifically our arena safety and security groups, Vanderbilt Medical Center, our medical team headed by Andy Hostler, our equipment team headed by Pete Rogers. Thank you, everybody, for just getting us back on the ice safely, allowing us to have training camp and allowing us to go to Edmonton. It was a huge undertaking. To our friends at the NHL, I know all of you've heard so much about the bubble. It's actually even more impressive to see and experience. We all felt very safe there, and we're looked after very, very well. And in Edmonton, again, a unique experience. Maybe one I don't ever want to do again, but it was very well done in a short period of time. So thank you to the NHL. These last 5 months have not been easy for anybody, especially here in Nashville with tornadoes and then the pandemic. A huge thanks has to go to our Predator staff for all the behind the scenes work and the community outreach that benefited our community and involved our fans. We believe we have the best fans in the league, best partners in the league, and their support and engagement during these last 5 months really reinforced that. So kudos to everybody for allowing this to happen, and hopefully we'll get back to a more normal situation real soon here in Nashville, and for that matter, the whole world. Okay, the 1920 season. This was unique. A normal season is now turned into 11 months with a 4-month pause, a 24-team playoffs. It's just an experience that we've never been through, and again, probably say for the second or third time, hope we don't have to do this again. We all know that the 69 regular season games that the Predators did play did not go as we had hoped. The season was plagued with lots of inconsistencies, lots of ups and downs from a team basis and an individual basis. In my mind, something that sort of typified, or I guess you'd say symbolized our season, was the Winter Classic. Obviously playing on the biggest stage for a regular season game on January 1st against a rival Dallas, who had beaten us the previous years in the playoffs. And it was a big game. We had friends there, family there, national TV, and we got off to a great start in that game. We led 2-0, but as happened many times in the year, we couldn't handle the pushback from Dallas, and we lost that game 4-2. And it just seemed to be typical of the highs and lows of our season. Obviously, some of our individual players did not produce this season the way they or we wanted or needed. And in January, I made a coaching change, bringing in John Hynes. John went 16-11-1 during his time. Again, it was a unique time. Mid-season changes are always a challenge, and if you remember, the day John was hired was the first day he coached, so it wasn't perfect. And then came the tornadoes, and then the pandemic, and then the pause. The pause actually gave us a second chance on this season, something often you I guess you wish for, but and you never actually get. But we got it. But it was a chance to sort of like wash away, if you will, things that hadn't worked. A chance for John Hynes to get to know his players individually better as a group, and for individual players to put the regular season behind them and refocus and start fresh. And fortunately, we did not take advantage of our second chance. In our series with Arizona, we can point to a lot of things that were very good, a lot of things that we were better than them in the qualifying round. But the bottom line, as we all know, is that we lost to them. We lost in three games to a team that we fully believed that we were better than. So obviously this is very disappointing, and it's Bottom line, this is unacceptable, and this is how we have to view this result, is that we have to be better, and it's not acceptable. I congratulate the Coyotes on the series. I mean, they made the plays, they got the saves. We didn't, and they deserve to move on. So where I stand right now is like the trends in the last 2 years in the regular season, the playoffs have not been going in the right direction. Uh, I mean, I believe we have plenty of good players, but obviously they've not come together to produce the results that we all desire. So it's very clear to me that we need to make some changes. It was very clear to me as we played the 1920 season that we needed to make some changes. And I recognize that. And the first of those changes was bringing in John Hynes to coach our team. We need to get back to our identity. We need to start playing, as we used to call it, the Predator way, the Predator culture. We have to become the hardest working team in the league. We have to play with more passion. We have to play with more determination, urgency. We have to have a refuse to lose attitude. My job is to assess, evaluate, and to work with John to identify how we can get better and play the game the way he believes will lead to success. I've got to provide John with some players that fit into his beliefs, into his system. And I can't sit here today and just tell you exactly what these changes are going to be in the next couple of months. All I can say, and will say at this time, that all options are on the table to make our team better for the 2021 season. As I say that, and before I get down to it's easy to pile on and to be negative at this time of year. I do have still a lot of belief in our organization and our players. I mean, starting with our captain, Roman Josi. Roman is up for the Norris Trophy, and in my mind, should win the Norris Trophy. His partner, Ryan Ellis, formed one of the best pairs in the National Hockey League. Matthias Ekholm and Fabro, who took a huge step in this play and give us a top four that's as good as any top four in the National Hockey League. In goal, UC Saros took a huge step this year to play most of the games down the stretch, and obviously all the games in the play-in. I still believe in Pekka Rinne. I think Pekka still has a lot of good game, and I think with Saros as a young guy and Pekka as the older guy, they form a great tandem. A lot of people want to say, you're number one, number two. I like to refer to it as we have a 1A and 1B, and I look for great competition at goaltending next year, and I look for great goaltending. I think we have that. I'm excited about the fact that John reunited our top line of Forsberg, Johansson, and Arvidsson, and I'm excited of how they all played. I think you could point to them having some of the ups and downs that I referred to earlier in the year and the inconsistencies, but Philip Forsberg played like a star. Joey played like a number one center, and a healthy Victor Arvidsson was scoring again. This gives me, great confidence going forward. In Milwaukee, the cupboard is getting a little bit more full down there. They were the number one team in the AHL, led by the AHL Coach of the Year, Carl Taylor. We have a good goaltender prospect in Connor Ingram that we signed to a 3-year contract, and we think the future is bright for him becoming an NHL goaltender eventually. We have a couple of young defensemen that are going to vie for positions on our team next year in-house. Alex Carrier, that you got to see a little bit of in the past couple of years. Jeremy Davies, who we got in the PK Subban trade. These guys are getting close to being able to play. On the forward position, Eli Tolvanen, our former first-round pick, certainly is going to get a great opportunity to play on our team on a regular basis based on his progress, maturity, and John got a chance to see him at training camp during the pause. I have a couple other young players like Trennan, who played up here a little bit this year, but certainly should be more of a full-time player. A couple of younger guys like him coming into the lineup, bigger, stronger, a little bit of physicality. Rem Pitlik is another guy that's got some talent. So, we're certainly going to be giving these guys opportunities at training camp. And probably our best player is in junior Philip Tomasino, who was also at our training camp. And again, not to be repetitive, but he's only 19 years of age, but I think he's got an excellent chance of vying for a shot on our team this year. So there's going to be some changes made. The third, component of all of this is the entry draft that's going to take place in October. We didn't win the lottery the other day, but we went from 17 to 11. 11 has a good ring to that to me, because that's when we got Ryan Ellis, and also we didn't draft him, but taking 11th with Philip Forsberg, talking to Jeff Kelty and going over our list. There's no question we're going to get a top player. I can tell you right now, I could give you 3 names, and I know 100% sure we're going to get one of those guys, and we're going to be very satisfied with that player and his potential down the road. We got 2 second-round picks, 2 third-round picks, so this is a big year for us in the draft. So, in summary, I mean, we're going to look at our current roster. Where some players are not going to be brought back, and we will consider all avenues to improve our team. So bottom line, if you're hearing what I'm saying, is that we're not satisfied. We're going to make some changes. My mandate, myself and our management group, is that we have to manage better. My mandate to John and his coaching staff is they have to coach better, and my mandate to the players is they have to play better. And we got to, all 3 groups have to do this to be where we want to be, and to be not having this kind of recap in the future. So with that, I will turn it over to Coach Hynes for some comments.
Go ahead, John, whenever you're ready.
Okay, I got it. Sorry. Good morning, everybody. I'd just like to follow up a little bit from David, just a little bit of recap of the season, and then I think talk about the series. I think from January to mid-February, I think there was a lot of change going on in within the team, obviously with the coaching change, and the team was in a tough spot. I think there were players that were in a tough spot, as we've talked about in numerous media situations. I think the team mentally was a little bit fractured at times. I just think from having a tough start, and I think a coaching change is never easy. I think things really started to come together. We went through some tough times as a group, from beginning of January to the middle of February, as far as pushing players, trying to get more out of guys, having a new coach come in and try to really understand the team and try to have some slight changes. But I think to our team's credit, we battled back. I think when we came in, we were not in the playoff spot. And during that time, till about mid-February, we were basically playing every night. We were trying to change some things on the fly. But we still found ways to be able to win games and put ourselves in position to be able to play after the pause. I think the end of February, going into the pause, things started to come a little bit more natural. I think the team, we were winning more. We played some big series. We were mentally tougher. I think we were becoming a tougher team to play in. But the most important thing was just the belief in what the players were doing, and what we were doing was really starting to come. And then we had the pause. And I think, during the pause, as David alluded to, I think it was an opportunity for a reset. I think you see some players that were struggling prior to the pause. I think did some soul searching. We had some good individual discussions, and I think the response of the players was good. When we came back after the pause, there was a different feel around the team. There was more energy, more passion. The practices were the guys worked. They were ready to go every day. You could see the belief in the identity, the belief in each other. It changed, and I think that was one of the things that is I think a positive moving forward. That it was a different group. It was a different atmosphere, a different culture, more work based, and much more together. And from that standpoint, that's a big step. You have to be able to win off the ice as well as win on the ice, and I think that's really going in a good direction. Then leading into the play-in series, and there's been a lot of talk about it's not the result we wanted, and it's not the result that we expect. So I think, as we've all alluded to, David, the players, we did some good things, but at the end of the day, we didn't find a way to win, and nobody here is satisfied with that. But to put some perspective on the series, when we go through, I think it's always, the questions even to me in post-game press conference were, how do you feel like you've all played a team, but you don't win the series? And I'd like to give you just a couple things, takeaways from that to possibly answer some questions. I think when you look at some areas of improvement in the series, special teams was a big factor this year. it struggled. I believe it was a big factor last year in past playoff series. Our penalty kill was at 83%. We were 10 for 12 in the series. Our power play was 4 for 14. We were at 28.6%. And I think when you look at it combined, our special teams total was 112. And I think when you look at teams, if you're at 102 or 105, that's excellent. So I think we saw, a significant improvement in our special teams in the series. I think when you look at some key factors in winning and how you want the team to play, how much time you can spend on the attack, meaning in the other team's offensive zone. So you're not defending through the game. In the 24 teams, we were number 1 in offensive zone time, and we were plus 12 minutes and 56 seconds in that area. I think the other 2 areas you want to look at is your zone 1 chances, your chance for and chance against. We were strong in those areas. We didn't find a way to score enough, but it certainly wasn't because of lack of opportunities. And I think when you look at the team play, we played fast, we played attacking, and we gave ourselves a chance to win. Now, how do you do that and then not win a series? I'd like to take you through a couple things. I think one of the biggest things for this group, if there's 3 things we really have to be better at, we have to be much more consistent throughout games and through individual performances. We've got to be smarter, and we've got to be tougher. And what I mean by tougher, we got to be tougher mentally, physically, and emotionally. And I think if you go through the series, for an example, game 1, we started with a lot of adversity. The first goal, then we come back, we take a penalty the next shift. 3 minutes later, we give up the second goal against, and then we gave up the third goal. We took 7 penalties in that game, and we gave up a shorthanded goal. So, I think that's the definition of smarter and more consistent in our play, and that was game 1. I thought in game 2, we came back and played stronger. We won the game 4-2. But I think another component where we need to grow with the smarter, tougher, and consistent is, we're up 4-0, and then we give up 2 goals late in the period. And that's a mental thing. That's a focus and being consistent and finishing the game the right way. We took 4 penalties in that game, so we reduced that. We go into game 3. I think when you look at the game, we were carrying the play. The game was tied, right? There's an offside. It takes away a goal. Then at 12:56, it's a 1-1 game. It's a 1-on-3. We don't read the rush the right way. Smarter, consistent. We give up the goal, and then several minutes later, we take an ill-advised penalty. And those are things that this group we have to get over the hump in those areas to be able to be a consistent winning team and also to be able to win a championship. We reduced the penalties to 3 in game 3. And then in game 4, we came out, we had a must-win game. We played a strong game. We had to battle back. We stayed consistent. Saw some growth in that game. But then I think when you look at the overtime goal against, it's a D zone sort out. It's a zone 1 shot. There's a rebound, and we have a little bit of a miscommunication, which, those are the differences between winning and losing. And in that game, we reduced our penalties to 1. I think when you look over the course of the series, you can say that you outplayed a team or outchanced a team or some of those stats that I talked to you about. I think over the long run, if you do those things, you're going to be able to win more than you're going to lose. Now, at the end of the day, moving forward with this team, it's those details, it's the consistency in play, it's the mental toughness to understand how to win close games, tight games, and make sure that those focus things are at a higher level. And I think every team goes through situations, where they have to get over a hump before they can win. And, with our team and where it's at, those are the things. Our overall game was good. It wasn't good enough. But at the end of the day, it came down to not beating yourself, mental toughness, emotional toughness, understanding momentum shifts in games, understanding if you're playing really well, you can't take yourself out of it by making a mistake or taking a bad penalty. If the other team has momentum, it's how do we regain it back? And those are all, like, the game within the game is going to be the biggest thing that we have to get this group to be able to be a consistent winner, be more consistent in the regular season, and also be able to win. I think, a couple other things. I think when you look at the lineup throughout the series, lots of times when you put a lineup together, particularly in a series, you're looking at how you're going to use players. Do certain players bring one element versus another element? It could be toughness, it could be skating, it could be special teams. We did make some line switches later in the series, but we felt, the way that the team was playing and the usage we had and putting players in the lineup that we felt were going to bring certain elements to it. We felt like we had the right guys in the lineup. Obviously, the goaltending decision is never easy. As David alluded to, we feel like we have a 1A and a 1B. We felt like Juice was playing well. It was an interesting series for a goalie, just in the sense that there may have been long stretches where you don't get any shots, you don't get any scoring chances, and then you have to come up with some saves. But we felt collectively, in talking with both goalies, that that was the decision we made. It's never easy to not have a guy like Pekka play, but we're certainly looking forward to him coming back and Juice coming back, and going into training camp in the regular season, that we expect it to be a strong competition and goaltending to continue to be a strong point for us. So hopefully that answered some questions for you and gave you a recap from when I came in through the end of the series. And with that, we'll open it up to questions.
Okay, thank you both. For this part, please just use the hand-raising tool as we have been the last 5 months or so, and then please state who your question is addressed to. We will begin with Adam Bingen. Go ahead, Adam.
Hi, guys. Thank you for doing this. This question is for David. And David, you did touch on this a little bit during your opening statement. But as you evaluate your team, can you allow yourself to share or be influenced by the sense of optimism that your players have expressed about this group and the strides they've made this year, knowing that despite those feelings, as you mentioned, the team has been trending backward in the postseason?
Yeah, I'm usually this time of year, not that it isn't difficult. This is very, very difficult. This is my worst time of year, because it's like, this is when you have to, everybody thinks the season is over. This is actually when you got to start doing all the work, and, as I say, to make the changes. But I really, listening to what John just said, and I think he's pretty open with everybody here, just sharing a little bit of his thought process with our team during his time here and in the play-in and all the preparation or what have you. I mean, John's made a lot of changes, on the ice, off the ice. He's referred to how you physically play the game. He's referred to the mental part of the game. And I think our players are adjusting, changing. I think they're very bullish on John, our coaching staff. And I would say that some of the improved play that we have with certain individuals, or certain aspects of how we play the game. So although it is a situation where we're sitting here trying to justify why and I don't want to say justify, we're not trying to justify anything. We lost. We're not satisfied with that. It's not acceptable. But I do believe the players really believe that the future is going to be very good with John and some of the things that he's implemented. So I totally understand where they're coming from. And I've done 30 exit. We had 30 players, so we did 30 exit meetings, and I can tell you that there is nobody that's saying anything negative about other players or other situations or about our coaching staff. And I'm being honest with you, sometimes that comes up in meetings, or it's kind of emotional. But our players are very upset and not satisfied that we didn't win. But to a man, they think there's a lot of things going in the right direction with our team, and they have to back that up by what we do next year.
Okay, thank you. We'll go over to Teresa Walker next. Go ahead, Teresa.
Good morning, guys. David, my question's for you. With this unusual off season, it's going to be shorter, it seems like. And with the cap situation, how challenging is it going to be to maybe make some of the changes you'd like to make?
Well, as I said, this unusual season, we've actually in the pause. I mean, I think I said this before on calls. We've had pro meetings almost every week for 4 or 5 months, all of our pro scouts have been watching games. We'll continue to watch games. We've previously identified what changes that we thought we'd have to make or want to make for the 2021 season. And then it was solidified or readjusted based on what we did or didn't do against Arizona. So I think we're organized. I think it's going to be, as you say, it's going to be fast because the dates are going to be all really, really quick, if you will. The season is scheduled to end, if it went a full 7 games in the finals, October 2nd, and you're going to have the draft like 6 days later, and then you're going to have free agency. So you're going to have to be really organized. It's up to me to make sure that I get in touch with every team that I think that we could possibly do something with, or to get in order the order of free agents or guys that may not be qualified. Any difference, anything that we are going to do, it's going to be all about your organization and making sure that you've got your lists ready and you can execute at that time. So it's going to be different, but we will be ready to do what we need to do.
Paul Scribina, go ahead.
Hi guys, this is for David. How would you assess Kyle Turris's play, and have you considered? I don't know if you've tried trading him. I'm assuming maybe you have, or tried, in the past. How do you feel about buying out players' contracts? I mean, that's kind of hamstring you a little bit too long term. Just generally speaking, could you just address kind of how you juggle all that and make kind of those decisions about, if you can't get rid of a player, or in this case, if you were to buy out a player, what that can do to a salary cap and kind of the roster?
You sort of asked me 2 questions. First of all, on Kyle, I mean, again, a player that scores what I think is going to be the winning goal in Game 3, a goal that I think is going to lead us to victory. I think it will lead us to winning the series, and that's how close I think it was. Our thought process, our impression, or the necessity of this question might not even be there if that goal is not offside and we go on to win the game and win the series. But I understand it. I think everybody is judged at the end of the day about winning, which is us, our players, and individually, in this case, Kyle. And we need to have more production. That was a weak point of our team. I mean, John went over a lot of things were positive, but let's call it like it is. Our second line that just didn't get it done and necessitated John making a change for game 4. So, I mean, in talking to Kyle, I mean, he has no excuses. He felt good. He felt ready to play. He under John versus our previous coaching staff, Kyle played a more important role, played a couple more minutes per game. He was killing penalties. He was producing more. But at the end of the day, he and some other guys didn't produce in the playoffs. So that's got to be better. That's one of the areas that we got to improve on. As far as the cap or buyouts or what have you, we all know that there's been a new collective bargaining agreement signed. We all know that the cap is the same as it was last year at 81.5, and we all know that a lot of teams, including ourselves, because of this, are going to be up against the cap, and there's going to be some harder decisions made, whether it's retaining players, going after certain players. I mean, we know what we have to spend, and you got to fit everything into the box. That's something that we're working on, right now in terms of any and all the decisions that we have to make about our roster going forward. It's all comes with the ability to fit this into the cap situation. We're going to be a cap team, which is the great news for our team and for our fans. We just got to figure out how we fit everybody in.
Okay, we'll go to Joe Rexler next. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, I want to apologize up front for my connection. It's going in and out. But question for David on that second line, and of course, seeing what the top line did in this postseason with that in mind. Just wondering with Matt Duchene, what kind of player do you think best complements him, player or players would complement him best? And of the young players you mentioned earlier, David, do any of those guys, do you think, fit that bill well?
Actually, I do, and I think I'm speaking for John too. We do. Again, which Matt and I guess this the second line, again, as I'm just repeating my answer, it wasn't as good as we had hoped it would be. Matt, in his exit interview, clearly was disappointed in his year and his contribution. If we go through quickly in the first 10 games, it was lights out. I mean, Matt Duchene was our best player. He got injured a little bit. Philip Forsberg got injured a little bit. We never got back on track. And then with the different line combinations, he played, a lot at center. Then he played some at the wing. We have to probably establish where he should really play. And as the question that you asked is that we've got to find him some guys to play with so that we can develop a really good second line. If the first line stays together, that's sort of right now, bottom line with me, that's the missing link. Matt Duchene played game 4, scored a goal. He played great. He played really good. And again, we were proud of that. He was proud of that. But as he said in the exit interview, that's not good enough. That's not the season I'm capable of and what I can do. So just one name, just to throw out to you, and he hasn't played much in the NHL, but we think that Tolvanen is a guy that might have chemistry. Matt also be a goal scorer, but he really likes to pass, and Tolvanen is a goal scorer. So I'm not saying that John Hynes has that on his depth chart right now as a line, but that's something that I can see somewhere down the road that could be a possibility.
Okay, we'll go over to Thomas Willis.
Hi, David. My question is, I just was curious if you could expound on the situation with Craig Smith and Mikhail Granlund, 2 pending UFAs, and just what they have accomplished here in Nashville, what they haven't, what your line of thinking is with them right now.
Well, Smitty has been a long-term Predator. If I would kind of define him as in terms of what he's brought to us, is probably 20 goals almost every year that he's been here. So, that type of consistency has been appreciated. It's been a big factor in helping us. Not necessarily the last couple of years where we haven't won as much, but the previous years where we won a lot. Granlund is relatively new to our team. I think he's certainly flourished more under John Hynes and played a bigger role, a more important role. They're both, as you said, pending unrestricted free agents, so they control the scenario. And the exit meetings that we had is that we basically said that we would take a break for a couple of weeks, and then we'd circle back with them or their agents to see whether there was a common interest of getting back together. So I don't have an answer for you as how that's going to play out this year yet.
Okay, we'll go over to John Glennon.
Hey, this question is for David. David, I know you've talked an awful lot about some potential changes going into next season. But I wonder too, with the amount of players, core players that will be coming back for next year under contract, is there still a sense that this core group has to be the one that turns things back around, despite whatever other changes are made?
Well, as I said in my opening remarks, John, is that, when I look at our core group, if we just start from, say, a basic depth chart, goaltenders, your top 4 defensemen, your top line, that is your core. And that core has, at least in the play-in, has played very well and very consistent. If we can get that core to play at the level that they did against Arizona, I think everybody's going to be happy. So I think what it always is that we tend to want to talk about individuals, but hockey is the ultimate team game. And we have some guys that need to play better for our team to be successful. You can't have too many passengers. You can't have too many guys that have off games. This is why our season was inconsistent. The ups and downs of our team was reflected by the ups and downs of the individuals, including some of the core players, not to let anybody off the hook, so to speak. So again, this is the whole team thing. I think we've got lots of good pieces, lots of good players, but do we need better results from certain players? Absolutely. Do we need to make some changes? Absolutely. I think we're going to see and do all of those things.
Hey, Chris Harris. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, David. Good to see you, sir. My question is, you speak so well about the core players and the roster that you have. and you talked about trending downward over the last couple of years in the playoffs. My question is, are you surprised that given the roster that you have put together, that you had the faith in, that has become the outcome and been the situation that it is trending downward? And then also, how much pressure do you feel to right the ship, given that you're kind of the architect of the one that put all that together?
Well, Chris, you can put whatever pressure you want on me, but I think I'm pretty well doing that to myself. So I want to win as much, if not more, than anybody in our organization. And it's obviously, this bothers me big time that we're not further ahead. We had a lot of success, in my opinion, in our organization in the last 5 years. I mean, going to the Stanley Cup Finals and winning our division, President's Trophy, winning rounds of the playoffs. And as I said in my remarks, the last 2 years, we're not trending in the right direction. And it's with a lot of the same players, as you're pointing out to me. So am I disappointed? Of course I'm disappointed. Do I see the possibilities of us being better with these same players? I absolutely do. But again, I'm saying that we got to make some changes. It's not going to be the same. And a couple of years ago, I sat here saying that I felt that we were really close, and that in conversation with the players that they really wanted another chance. Well, I don't quite feel the same way today. I think there's some movement on our team would be good. Bringing in some younger players for sure. And I teased a couple of those guys, some energy, some spark, some different type of guys. But internally, you're not changing the whole team. So internally, as I've talked in the previous question, this is a team sport, and we have some guys that have to take their game up another notch. I mean, there's there's lots of individuals. We could go through each guy, which I don't really want to do today, but I can say that it doesn't have to be to your top end guys too. It could be your third or fourth line guys. They have more to give, and they're going to be counted on to give more. And this is one of the situations that John and I have already talked about. I mean, we had the exit interviews, but John's got to follow up with all of these players to see where they are, what they're going to be doing in the summer to come back to be better than they've been before. And he's going to be asking them to take up their role a notch. A lot of guys that we're expecting more, whether it's 5 more goals or it's to play a harder game, any number of things. So I am cautiously optimistic, but again, we got to play out the scenario. We got to go through different things, and we've got to see where it all plays out in terms of who we sign, who we don't sign, our training camp, who we put on our team, and what changes we actually end up with, what our team looks like when we start next season.
Okay, we'll go over to Justin Bradford.
This question's for John. John, you got a chance to see a lot of the young talent in the system during return to play camp, and even got to meet Philip Tomasino and Carl Taylor with what he's been doing in Milwaukee. Looking forward, and how David's noted some changes could be made and bringing in some younger players. How does that affect you going into next season with training camp, and get you excited about it and what you potentially could be doing with some younger, fresh talent with this team?
Yeah, Justin, it was, I think it was really good to have the opportunity to have Carl up here and just really get to know him better. But, I think the insights of a coach is really beneficial when you're talking about different players, particularly from the American League and then transitioning up to the National Hockey League. So, it's exciting. There's a historical draft record in Nashville of drafting good players, and the development process of going through Milwaukee and then being NHL ready to be able to come in and make an impact. So you need to have it in the salary cap era. You need to be able to put some young guys on your team. And the thing that is most encouraging as the NHL coach is that you have guys that have won. They've been in a good environment. They understand what it takes. Their games have grown. Tolvanen's a guy that spent some time there. He's a guy that can score. His game has certainly matured. He's played multiple roles in Milwaukee. He's been, not just a power play player, but he's wound up killing penalties. And those are the things you want to see in your young prospects, that, they're maturing, they're rounding out their game. And when they get to the National Hockey League level, they're not just on the team because they're young players. They have to help you win. And anytime you put a young player in the team, or any player in the team, how is this player going to help us win? And I think, Tolvanen's kind of right on that cusp, and we're going to give him a good opportunity. We're going to try to spend some time with him this summer or during the pause here before he comes back to training camp, and see if we can help him get to a good spot. Rem Pitlik was another guy. I thought he was pretty impressive in this training camp. He's got good hockey sense, good speed. He's got offensive instincts. He's another player that has some pretty high-end talent, and it's going to be up to Rem and us to make the decision. Is he ready or is he not ready? Because you want to put the players on the team when they're going to be ready to make an impact, as I've said. And I would say, Philip Tomasino, he's a guy that he's come in. He's a highly talented player, very driven, very mature for his age, which is important. I had the opportunity in New Jersey to work with some young players. Some were mature and ready to play right away. Some weren't. And I think, Tomasino's a guy who's got a high motor, high engine, loves the game, loves the things that surround the game, which is important for a young player if they're going to play in the National Hockey League. How you practice, how you take care of yourself, meetings. It's a very demanding league to play in. So it's encouraging from that standpoint. And I'd say when you look at Carrier and Davies, they're both talented players, smart players. They can skate, they can move the puck, and it's gonna come down to who's the most ready. And I think one of the big things is when you have some new players coming into your lineup, you need to have internal competition. You need to have players come into training camp. If there's a spot or two open, if there's playing time that's going to be there, you have your normal guys that are going to be on the team. You can't have complacency. You got to have guys pushing for spots, guys looking to keep their job, guys looking to take jobs. Those are all things that we're going to have some discussions with our group well prior to training camp. That this training camp in the fall is going to be different than the return to play. It's going to be not let's come back and try to get chemistry. Let's get back. Let's compete. Let's see who's going to win jobs, who's in the best shape, and let's put the most competitive hockey team that we can have on the ice after training camp.
Okay, we'll go over to Jeremy K. Gober.
David, this is for you. How much of that youth movement that you alluded to earlier and that John just spoke about, how much of that decision among the brass there is due to salary cap concerns? And then just real quick, I'd love to see you clarify why Tomasino was at camp but wasn't an option to travel to Edmonton. I know that's probably a real simple answer, but it's just eluded me, so I figured I'd throw that in. Thank you.
It's just for the Tomasino question. It was just a number. We were restricted in how many people we could take to the bubble, and we didn't feel that he would be getting into any games there. He's also a player that's going to play for Team Canada, although they're not practicing. They're doing a lot of things virtually, so we thought that was the best decision for him on that part. And Jeremy, what was the other question? I'm sorry.
The other question was how much of the youth movement that you've alluded to,
Right, yeah.
how much is that is due to salary cap concerns?
Yeah, I think this, as I sort of talked about earlier, the cap affects every decision that you make. So, if we're talking about a trade and it's I'll just throw out a figure. It's a $5 million player that you bring in. Okay, well, what is that? We want that player. Where does he fit in? And then, okay, where's our cap? Maybe we're over the cap by doing that. So who do we have to get rid of or what have you? So yes, the best I can answer that is every decision will be affected by that. But I can say to you that when we want to have change, I mean, we want to improve the team, but I also do think that bringing in some of our homegrown players probably is not probably is a way I would really like to go. I mean, I can't force them on the team. As John said, we're looking for competition. They got to be good enough to play, but I think that would be really healthy for our organization if some of the younger guys that have been mentioned today could actually get a spot on a regular basis. I think that would be good organizationally, and again, there's a lot of belief that these are pretty good players for us.
Okay, we will take a few more questions here. We'll go over to Gentry Estes.
Yeah, David, you've said phrases like, handling pushback this season, more effort and urgency, a team that's more to give. Is it fair to say that you view the shortcomings as maybe more mental than physical or skill-wise? And given that, how difficult has it been to put a finger on where that comes from?
I think it's very hard to put a finger on where it comes from. But, I mean, again, in listening to John's comments, and also I listened to our players in the exit interviews, and I think a few of our players were on a Zoom call yesterday, and one of the things that jumped out at me is they they use expressions mental toughness, they use expressions mindset. I think it's all there. And, you know, you could argue, you know, that possibly one of the reasons why we lost to Arizona was our mental toughness. I mean, what John was, one thing John was alluding to, like in game one, we gave up, we played so well, and then we gave up the first goal, and there was a lapse, which I will call a mental lapse, for about 7 minutes, and it was 3-0. Other than those 7 minutes, I'd say the other 53 minutes of the game, we were the better team, but that's what undid us. I think there's, you know, you in life, in sports, or what have you, when something goes bad, you have two choices of how to react to something. You can put your head down and you can sulk and pout, and when you're doing that, it's probably going to get worse for you in whatever situation you're in, or you can just put it behind you and move on and try to get a better result in your next effort. So, you know, there's a lot of things that go into putting together a winning team. It's the physical play, it's the conditioning, preparation, but it's also the mental toughness. I mean, this is a grind. The 82 game schedule just to make the playoffs now is so hard because the teams are so close, and then all the components that go into winning in the playoffs. And you can see, at least in the early stage, like St. Louis was the #1 team, lost to Vancouver, and they haven't, to this point, they've struggled in getting their game together. I mean, Washington loses to the Islanders. There was upsets from Edmonton, who lost to Chicago. Pittsburgh loses to Montreal. So there's lots of components that go into it, and the mental side is one of the at the top of the list. And all I can tell you is that we need to work on that, and we need to do a better job on that. And I think the players realize that. And I think that's partially some of the optimism that they have, is that John's touched on that a lot.
Okay, Adam, we'll go back to you.
This question is for John. First off, John, thank you for your patience as we pepper David with questions. I wanted to ask you about your coaching staff. I know that you inherited everybody on the coaching staff, I guess, with the exception of Rob Scuderi. But I was just curious for your take on what you think of the coaching staff in place, if there will be any changes to the coaching staff, including whether or not Rob Scuderi will shed the interim label that he had when he was hired.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. You know, I'd like to start out as far as the coaching staff. You know, coming in mid-season and having the opportunity to work with the coaching staff. They were fantastic. They're very hardworking guys. They know the game. The way that they handled it, whether it's our video coaches, our assistant coaches, a guy like Rob coming in, just the upfront, the honesty, understanding the changes, and being on board with things, the way that they relate to the players it is excellent. So, you know, it was really fortunate to be able to come in and to have the opportunity to work with these guys. And, you know, I think it's something that, you know, David and I will continue to talk, and you know, we just had some entry-level things. We've had exit meetings with players, and we've kind of gone through some other situations. But I think, like everything, a coach and general manager sit down and they talk about the staff, talk about, you know, the needs of what it is. But, you know, as far as it is to date, it was a great experience. Thankful for the way that these guys continue to work even in the off season. And, you know, if there are going to be any changes or whatnot, that, you know, that's something that we haven't talked about yet.
Okay, we'll just do a couple more here. Alex Daugherty, go ahead.
Yeah, this is also for John. So since you got here, you've really hit the mental toughness, mental aspect of the game. What progress have you seen from your players since you got here? So where were they when you got here, and then kind of where are they now? Have they made progress in that area in your mind?
Yeah, Alex, great question. I think, you know, one of the things that you have to understand is that I think when it comes to the things we're talking about, like even if you look at the series, you know, I hate to use the word, well, we're the better team or we did this and that. The bottom line is the team that won found a way to win. I think when you look at the process of a game, and if you said, okay, if we continue to play this way, are we going to give ourselves a chance to win? So that part of it has grown. We're playing the game faster. We're more in the attack. I think we're defensively structured. We've done, our special teams have improved. So all those components have been good. Okay. But one of the things when a team sometimes goes through a coaching change or underachieves, or there's pressure to do well, or things don't go well, the first thing that fractures is their belief and their confidence. And then they get on an emotional roller coaster. When they score and do well, they're too high. When something bad happens, they go too low. Understanding bad things are going to happen. Or when you're doing things well, for example, when, like in this series, we were playing really good hockey a lot of times, but then we just get away from it. We take that bad penalty, or we take a penalty right after a goal against, things like that. I think the big thing is it's not hard to change, but it does take time to understand with our team the game within the game. It's like if you have talented players, or you have a talented player, but they don't work out, they don't do their nutrition, they don't sleep right, they don't live right away from the rink. Well, that talent's never going to get maximized. And I think when it comes to a team, understanding the game within the game and really being able to stay with it, stay mentally tough, understanding, the highs and lows, being able to have some resiliency and respond. And the other part of it too is when you are doing things really well, don't get away from it. Don't try to change it. Don't get away from it. I think the last thing I would say is we have a lot of very good players on the team. But when you have a team of good players, sometimes, it can't be all your game is based around, points, or did I score, or did I not score, and that's your sole worth. If you're going to win consistently and you're going to win a championship, you got to have every guy on the team value the little things. It could be puck management. It could be smart line changes. It could be not taking a retaliatory penalty. It could be understanding, hey, I don't have my legs tonight, or I don't have my hands tonight, or I missed 2 scoring chances, I hit 2 posts, but how am I going to influence the game to help our team win? I think we've grown. We haven't grown enough, obviously, because we're on this call. I think this is a thing that, as David has alluded to, I think the players recognize it and understand it. To their credit, they're working through it. We got to do a good job coaching it, and it's going to be a big emphasis for us continuing to move forward.
All right, we will close things out here with John Glennon.
Hey, John, this is for you. Probably follows along those lines. I know David talked a little bit earlier about the Predators' identity and wanting to get back to it. What, in your mind, as you look at this roster, this group of players, what should be the identity of this Predators team going forward? What do you want to see?
Well, first and foremost, we have to be very, very consistent in our work ethic and in our competitive level. We need to be tough to play against. That's the foundation of us continuing to move forward. And part of that is the way that you work, the way that you compete. But the other part is being a tough team to play against. Is you don't beat yourself. You're mentally tough. You stay with it, and you understand how to be consistent in those efforts. I think the next step for us, when you look at our goaltending and our D-core, and I think the group of forwards we should be a very stingy team to play against defensively, with strong structure, a very strong commitment level. With the way that our team is built, I think we should be very difficult to play against, and then do a better job in like zone 1 chances against. I think those things have to be better. And then I think with us, we need to be a multiple threat offensively. And what I mean by that is, I think in this series we did take a step, but I think we have produced a lot of offense from our D-core. And I think that needs to continue to grow. But we need to be a little bit more multi-threat offensively, meaning down low offensive zone, plays in the slot, plays to the slot. When they take away our point coverage, that we can attack the zone low too, with the type of forwards that we have and the talent that we have up front. I think that, for us to take another level, we've got to get more production from our forwards, and we have to continue the production of our D-core. It's going to make us a much more difficult team to defend against. And I'd say the third one is we have to be good in special situations. Power play, penalty kill, 5-on-6, 6-on-5, those special situations that, sometimes can make a big difference in the game. We've got to be much more consistent in those areas.
All right. Well, David, John, thank you so much for joining us today. Everyone on the call and listening in. I said it in my email, but everyone here, we appreciate your patience and understanding over the last 5 months or so. Obviously, doing things over Zoom kind of became the new normal, but we appreciate everyone sticking by us and for their questions and feedback and all that. It really means a lot. So we hope everyone has a good rest of the summer. It sounds weird to say, moving into fall, but feel free to reach out if you need anything else or have any questions. Hope everyone has a good rest of the day. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Look forward to seeing you at training camp this year. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care.